Pro Tem Matthews.
Present.
Councilwoman Jones.
Present.
Councilman Broadway.
Present.
Councilman Gaylor.
Present.
Councilman Bass.
Here.
Okay, we're all here. We go into the adoption of the agenda. I have a couple items. One is that we're going to add downtown lights up reschedule request to the agenda, consent agenda, excuse me, as item K. As item K. And you had an old business item, Kiwanis Miniature Train update. That's to be removed from the agenda. So those are my changes. Anyone else have a change or addition they'd like to make? If not, motion to approve the agenda, please, as amended.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and second. Any discussion? If not, approving the agenda as amended, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, well, the agenda is approved. We'll move right into the old business, and we'll go with the, start off with the FY 21-22 audit.
Mr. Chad Cook.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Chad Cook with Forvis. I'm audit director on the city's fiscal 22 audit. Today we're here to present the preliminary results of the audit. The plan is, following this meeting tomorrow, to send a management representations letter to Tim and Catherine to be signed, and then to issue the financial statement report tomorrow following the receipt of that letter. Those financial statements will be subject to the LGC's review, so we'll have to submit the financial statement package to the LGC. They could potentially have comments. We haven't had any the last few years, but we do let them typically review a lot of times before the financial statements are released for public record. But they will be submitted, to the city tomorrow following the receipt of the management representation letter. What I have in front of us today are the results of the audit. These are some required communications that we have as part of going through the audit. So just things that we have to communicate to you all as the governing body. I'm not going to go through, line by line on the financial statements. I know that we did have a previous meeting where I kind of covered some of the financial results from fiscal 22, and you'll see that in the final report, the numbers are substantially the same as those that were previously reported. So the last thing we'll go through following this report will be the financial performance indicators, and I'll get to that just in a second following this. So first, the scope of our audit. Again, this report covers our audit results related to the year financial statements and supplementary information as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2022. This was conducted in accordance with our contract dated June 6th, 2023. Forvis, our firm, is responsible for forming and expressing an opinion about whether the financial statements that have been prepared by management with the oversight of those charged with governance are prepared in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, or GAAP. An audit is designed to obtain reasonable rather than absolute assurance about the financial statements. The scope of our audit tests were established in relation to the financial statements taken as a whole and does not include a detailed test of all transactions. This report includes communications required in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards that are relevant to the responsibilities of those charged with governance and overseeing the financial reporting process, including the audit approach, results, and internal controls. The engagement team, others in our firm, and as appropriate our firm, have complied with all relevant ethical requirements regarding independence throughout the audit. Our audit was conducted in accordance with government auditing standards, and in addition to that, we also had to perform a single audit this year. So as we have the last several years, because of the level of federal and state funding that the city receives, we have to perform compliance audits over particular major programs. For fiscal 22, that was the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds on the federal side, and on the state side, we tested the PAL bill program. As a result of that, or as part of that process, we have to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the city complied in all material specs with the compliance requirements of those grant programs, and also that the city had appropriate internal controls over compliance surrounding those grants. Happy to report that there were no such findings as it relates to our tests over those major programs. Moving on, we also like to report on the qualitative aspects of significant accounting policies and practices. In the fiscal 22 statements, there was a new accounting standard implemented. So the GASB put out GASB 87 leases, which was in effect as of July 1st, 2021. So fiscal 22 is the first year that this standard impacted the town or the city. As a result of the implementation, the city now has lease liabilities and assets on the balance sheet that were not there in the past. So previously, lease activity was more of a footnote disclosure. Now you actually have a lease right to use intangible asset in the financial statements, as well as an offsetting liability, so that they're treated a lot like typical debt or installment financing now in the city's financial statements. On the lessee side, so where the city is leasing property, there really wasn't a significant impact. The liability as of 6/30/22 is going to be about $116,000, as well as the related offsetting right of use asset. However, on the receivable side, where the city is actually leasing out property to others, there is going to be a $1.2 million receivable that you'll see on the books. That's offset with a deferred inflow within the statement of net position. And essentially, the lease revenue will be recognized over time, kind of on a straight line basis. But that represents receivables surrounding like the tower leases that you have with cellular companies. We'd also be required to report on any unusual policies or methods, if there were alternative accounting treatments that the management was electing, if we had any difficulties encountered as a result of completing our audit procedures, or any disagreements with management. Things like that would be required to be reported within this document. If you read through it, you'll see we have no reportable items in any of those sections. One other thing we like to point out is that the financial statements do inherently have significant accounting estimates within them. They're an integral part of the financial statements prepared by management, and based on the judgments of management in preparing those estimates, should the actual results not align with those estimates, there could be material differences within the financials. As part of the audit, we obtain assurance that those estimates are reasonable. We look at the assumptions that go into those estimates, make sure that they're in accordance with industry norms as well as the accounting standards, and recalculate those estimates to ensure that what's presented in the financial statements is accurate. The significant estimates that we like to point out: number one, management's estimates of the depreciable lives of capital assets, which is based on the expected useful lives of those individual assets. There's also estimates related to liabilities surrounding the pension plans and the other post-employment benefit healthcare plan, as well as the related deferred inflows and outflows of resources surrounding those plans. There's also a significant estimate related to the liability for claims incurred but not reported, or IBNR, which are based on information provided by third parties, which based on information provided to them by management. And then lastly, management's estimates of the terms and the discount rates used for discounting lease receivables and lease liabilities. So this is a new one for this year. I think the other three have been there in the past. But the discount rates used in calculating those lease asset and liabilities that we talked about a minute ago with the implementation of GASB 87 is also another significant estimate that's within the financial statements. And the estimates there are based on the city's incremental borrowing rates. Moving on, adjustments identified by the audit. Should there be any material adjustments identified by the audit, we would be required to report those. I have to report that while there were some adjustments identified, none of them rose to the level of being material. We are also required to report any uncorrected misstatements. So uncorrected misstatements being things that we identified during the audit process that could be updated but were not material and not required to be updated, that management elected to not correct within the statements. We provide a summary of those on the last page of the report. So you'll see just on the last page, it's Appendix B in the report. It just shows sort of a description of what those misstatements are and the related financial impact. But again, that's normal in the course of an audit, especially an audit that's a little behind schedule and things that books that at this point it may be easier to just go with the numbers as previously reported, not material, again, to any of our opinion units, which would be any of the individual funds that we report on, but we are required to just point those out. Lastly, as far as the financial performance indicators, so this was something I mentioned earlier. The North Carolina LGC does require us to complete a data input worksheet, which takes the results of the financial statements, as well as some questions that we have to answer as part of that process. And it determined, and they have a spreadsheet that essentially kicks out, hey, you have a financial performance indicator of concern. You may recall from last year, there were some surrounding fund balance, as well as the timeliness of the financial statement submission. This year, any of the financial performance indicators are gone in terms of the numbers. The only financial performance indicator that you're gonna have this year relates to the submission of the financial statement. So obviously, not starting the audit until this past June or July, was already after the date that the financial statements are required to be submitted, which is essentially December 1st each year. The LGC's deadline is October 31st, but if you don't submit them by December 1st, following the end of your fiscal year, that's when you get this financial performance indicator. And then the other thing that's on the list is just the fact that the unit has been on the unit assistance listing of the LGC. And both of these things that kick out simply require a response from management. It has to be signed by a majority of the governing body, so the majority of the council members have to sign the response. And that's due to the LGC following the submission of our financial statements. So again, planning to finalize the statements tomorrow, upload them to the LGC with this workbook, and that kind of starts the clock of having to provide that response to the LGC. But again, as far as fund balance, budgetary violations, anything like that, no such financial performance indicators. It's all kind of just surrounding the timeliness of the audit submission. That pretty much concludes our required communications, but certainly happy to answer any questions that anyone may have at this point.
Let me just,
When are we gonna get the audit?
Tomorrow. Yeah, so following this meeting, we send a letter to Tim and Catherine, and then we should be able to submit the financials tomorrow.
we'll get it tomorrow. And so I was looking through the document I had, which speaks positively in terms of there's several categories here, and they're punctuated by the comment, no matters are reportable. I see several of them, which is good information. Is there any reason to believe that the LGC would have any question with the document that they'll eventually see?
Can you say that again?
Would
Would they have any issues with
question,
what?
but I mean, is there any reason to think that we ought to be concerned about their response to seeing it?
No, nothing that comes to mind for me. I think, again, the financial performance indicators all improved from fiscal 21. I think they should be seeing progress in terms of the timeliness of the audit submissions now. This one, the last couple have taken close to a year to complete. This one was more like 4 months, 4 to 5 months. So we're speeding up the timeline, and I think that finishing now does give us time to get on the 23 audit, which the plan would be to finish up 23 before the end of fiscal 23, so that starting in fiscal 24, kind of back on that normal time frame and looking at being able to submit the financial statements on time before the December 1st deadline.
So you just gave me a really nice segue into my next question. So give us a little recap, if you will, for the public as well as our, we've got some new incoming members of our council here tonight. Tell us in just short version why we had this delay.
Just going back to kind of the history of things.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah,
Without
so-
spending 5 minutes doing it.
Sure, yeah, so we'll just say, we started these audits back in fiscal 19, that was the first year we picked it up. It was, I believe, Catherine's first year as the finance director coming on during fiscal 19. We began the audit that fall, and upon that, beginning that process, we just came across a lot of things that needed correcting. So we ended up, correcting, I want to say there were 5 or 6 things we had to restate from the fiscal 2018 statements. And the audit just, when you have that many issues, it means that our materiality declines. We have to look into more and more things, the more things we find, and it just drug out, right? So the fiscal 2019 audit took over a year to complete. And at that point, again, we're already past the fiscal 20 deadline, and things just kind of snowballed from there, right? So fiscal 20 got started late, got that submitted, then fiscal 21 gets started late. So, we're catching up. I think we're making progress, but we're just still kind of behind the gun because of that.
Well, and we, 22, 23, we're looking at the spring, completing that.
Yes, that would be the target. And what, I'll have to certainly catch up with Tim and Catherine regarding the specifics of the timing of when we'll start that. But I think, the overall goal is certainly to get that done before the end of the fiscal year so that, again, the fiscal 24 could be started on time.
Yeah, good. Council member, you have any questions?
So we will meet the 29-day deadline according to the legislator.
29. I'm not
Audit.
sure which.
We'll meet the 29 days.
I'm not sure what you mean by 29 day.
29 days. We had 29 days to get the audit in before it was late, and we would have to pay a penalty. So did we meet that?
I don't think those terms are correct.
Well, correct them for me.
I'll try to, okay. Are you talking about the withholding of sales tax and such?
Yes,
In the new Senate bill?
Right.
Right, so, this audit is complete, so they're not gonna withhold any sales tax because of this audit. So it would be the next audit that they potentially do that to, i.e. the FY 22-23 audit. And so at the 9-month mark, they give you a warning, and if you don't get it done by one fiscal year, basically, after the
Exactly.
end of it, right? Then you could potentially have sales tax withheld. So I don't think we will get to the warning. Hopefully we get the audit done by the end of March, and if we don't, then what Chad is telling you is he certainly expects to get it done before the end of this fiscal year, which means it won't be over essentially half a year late from when it was due, or a year beyond the end of the fiscal year. So there should be no withholding of any sales tax.
Okay, thank you for,
I hope that clarifies.
Correct. Yes,
That-
it
that
did.
There's no 29-day thing, although I would like to know, LGC has to look at this audit first, right? And then they send it back to us for the council to approve, so to speak, of the financial performance indicators of concern. And is that a 30-day deadline, or what kind of deadline do they give to that?
it's a
I will have to look at that. There is a certain number of days that you're supposed to provide it. So it used to be that they would review the financial statements and then send you a letter. Now they're trying to make it where we kind of do this on the front end. So we fill out this workbook. It tells you if there's going to be any
Right,
indicators,
right.
and then you just provide them that letter
Right.
ahead of time without them having to prompt it. So yes, once we submit the statements, I believe it's either 30 or 45 days that you have to get that response to them.
Okay, so we'll put that together. We could potentially get this council to sign that at the next meeting before we turn over to the council on December 4th. That would be optimal, I would think.
Okay, that was my question. Maybe it was legislative number 299, but it is a 29 days. So, but you did correct. You did answer my question. Thank you very much. That's all I needed.
Any other questions? Thank you. Comments? Okay, sir, thank you for your work. Thanks for coming and giving us an overview of the situation, and you bring this back tomorrow, or someone bring it back to us tomorrow?
The financial statements?
We'll get you a copy when they're,
Yes, we will print and bind final versions and have them
Oh,
shipped to
okay.
you. Yep, we'll get everyone a copy.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Chad.
Our next item on the agenda is new business, and it's the 2024 Goldsboro City Council meeting dates. Madam Clerk.
Good evening, council. You have in your packet
It's kinda late
proposed
now.
meeting dates for 2024 council meeting. Also included in that is a proposed retreat dates of February the 20th and 21st, which is a Tuesday and Wednesday. If you will review these dates, and any council member elects who are in the audience who would like to review that as well, let me know if there's any comments. You can just
It looked good
email
to
me
me.
or call. Sir?
It looked good to me.
I did make a couple of changes, kind of sort of like what we did this year. I made the Monday meetings the second and fourth meetings, so that we could still have 2 meetings. The meeting in February is 1 meeting because of the retreat. Then the meeting in July is 1 meeting due to the holiday and people being out of the country or out of the state or just away. So if anybody has any questions, any proposed changes, if you'll let me know that before the next meeting, and we'll have this on the next agenda for approval.
So
Any
are we-
questions?
Are we still, well, some of y'all will be gone, but, still considering 2 days for the retreat? Is it still necessary for 2 days of retreat?
It's on the agenda, I think, but that'll be up to the council to determine.
Those were my
They're
comments.
just proposed days. I'll let y'all decide that.
We'll wait.
We can always amend the schedule.
Okay, so let's move into the consent agenda. We've got plenty of time for that.
All right, consent agenda item D, resolution approving application for funding offered by NCDEQ, Division of Water Infrastructure, for the lead and copper inventory project. Mr. Jonathan Perry, engineering.
Yeah, so I have the agenda or the resolution to approve us going after some funding for the lead and copper project. We've already bid this project out. We already have a contractor and they're planning on starting in January the 8th. But we can go after $1 million. It is a open kind of enrollment thing. I think the next time that their board is meeting is gonna be December the 17th. So we can go after $1 million. This is a little over $2 million project, so I think it's 51% would be a loan, and then it's up to 49% principal forgiveness. So, if there's any questions.
Well, first of all, Jonathan, thank you for all your work you've done on this. Good, great addition to our staff here.
I appreciate that.
You jumped right in on
Yeah.
this stuff, and
I appreciate that.
appreciate all the effort you put into it.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
Thank you. All right, appreciate it.
Ordinance establishing the City of Goldsboro Cemetery Perpetual Care Trust Fund. Ms. Gwynn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So the ordinance you have here tonight is a reflection of our November 6th meeting where council authorized the acceptance of the distribution from the Simon and Sadie Rosenfeld Trust with care of the cemetery plots in the Willowdale Cemetery. And under North Carolina General Statute 168-347, it requires that principal must remain intact. The income from the principal may be used for the perpetual care of the plots. And we also must keep these funds separate and apart from all other city funds. So we recommend the establishment of a perpetual care trust fund to manage the distribution of the Simon and Sadie Rosenfeld Trust and any future contribution, gifts, grants, and devices otherwise restricted for city cemetery or specific plots. The interest income will be allocated quarterly to the outstanding balance in the fund, and annually a transfer will be made to the general fund and put in for the cemetery care of the plots for just those two plots for the Rosenfelds. And as I said, in the future, if we do receive any other contributions or distributions for cemetery plots, we will put them in this perpetual care fund. So we recommend that we establish the ordinance for the City of Goldsboro Perpetual Care Trust Fund.
Any questions?
Catherine, I've got do we have many of these trust funds that have been given in the past?
So there was, in the ordinance, there is established a cemetery trust fund, but it actually sits in the general fund. So when you look at our audited financial statements, the governmental side, you'll see set aside for perpetual. And I talked to Laura about this because it's really old, okay? It's just an old part of the statute. It's there in the general fund. It is not separate and apart. This is actually gonna be separate and apart in its own trust fund.
That was my question.
The way that the ordinance was established, it really wasn't very clear about how, and some of the terminology is out of date, but that money is still set aside now. We can use the corpus of that if we wanted to, if we found a need to do that for some of the cemeteries. There's about $294,000 that is allocated there.
That's
now.
what I was wondering. I knew there was money there.
You're right, it is, in the general fund, yeah. Okay. All right.
Any questions?
Next item, Quinn.
Okay. All right, so my next item is to amend the Quint Aerial Fire Truck Capital Project Fund. So council established this appropriation for $1.1 million with an additional $15,000 for the debt financing, the debt cost. The council created the project June 11th of 2022 in accordance with the General Statute 159.13.2. The construction and delivery of the truck has taken a while. We are told that they're expecting delivery between December and January. They do have need to put some additional equipment and apparatus things on the truck. There is an additional $6,463 that will not be used. We had allocated it for debt expense. or issuance costs essentially. We're not gonna use that, so what we're doing is we're actually reducing that amount by $6,463 out of the issuance cost, and we're gonna put it into the actual equipment cost so that the fire department can spend that and put that needed equipment on this new truck, and hopefully we'll see it in, December or January, so.
Good deal.
Any questions by the way?
And then my last item is to amend special revenue fund for the police other restricted revenue funds. So council created this fund June 17th of 2019, and it's to create a fund to collect and disperse funds where we receive from special court allocations, storage fees, fundraisers, donations, sale of family property, and other restricted revenue sources. In the past few months, the police department has received $2,835 in various donations and surplus sales, and we must appropriate the revenues in order to be able to appropriate the expenditures so that they can spend these funds for their restricted purpose. We received donations with a shop with a cop from Walmart, from propertyroom.com. We had some found guns that were sold, and then we had private citizen donations. This all totaled the $2,835, and we're asking for the council to amend the project ordinance to appropriate these funds.
Any questions? Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
you.
Chief West, Goldsboro Christmas Parade, street closure.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Item H is the Goldsboro Christmas Parade temporary street closure. The annual Goldsboro Christmas Parade is one of the many local traditions helping to usher in the holiday season into the Goldsboro area. The parade is organized, coordinated, and sponsored by the Wayne County Chamber of Commerce. The street closing request for Saturday, December 2nd, 2023 is as follows. For the parade route, beginning in the 200 block of South Center Street and traveling north on Center Street to Ash Street, going around the traffic circle at Center Street and Ash Street, and heading south on Center Street. The parade route will continue south on Center Street, where the parade route will end at Spruce Street. Staging areas, street closed for staging, will be Spruce Street between George Street and John Street, Pine Street between George Street and John Street, James Street between Pine Street and Spruce Street, Center Street from Elm Street to Spruce Street. Additional closures recommended by the police department to manage traffic flow will encompass Ash Street from James Street to John Street, Mulberry Street from James Street to John Street, Walnut Street from James Street to John Street, Chestnut Street from James Street to John Street. Parking restrictions. There is a typo in this sentence. This should say no parking will be allowed on Center Street from Pine Street to Ash Street. This says no parallel parking, so I would request that parallel be taken out. The time requested for the street closing is from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. Police have indicated that traffic will be restricted from 8 a.m. until 3:30 a.m. and all traffic will be stopped at 3:30. That should be p.m. The actual parade will begin at 4 p.m. and end at approximately 7 p.m. As with all downtown events, affected city departments will be contacted and the following concerns are to be addressed. All intersections remain open for the police department traffic control. 14-foot fire lane is to be maintained to provide access for fire and emergency vehicles. All activities, changes in plans, etc. will be coordinated with the police department. The police and fire department and public works departments are to be involved in the logistical aspects of the event. It's recommended by motion grant the requested temporary street closures of the sections of Pine Street, Spruce Street, James Street, Center Street, Ash Street, Mulberry Street, Walnut Street, Chestnut Street for the Goldsboro Christmas Parade route and staging area from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Saturday, December 2nd, 2023, as stated above. Any questions?
Any questions? Let's see. I have a comment, Chief. Veterans Day Parade, a couple of people came up to me and said they had gotten a call, or they didn't get a call, as the case may be. One that said they got a call was a merchant. The two that told me they didn't get a call was a merchant. Saying, I know it's, please correct me, it's not the police department's responsibility to tell the merchants about street closing, is that correct?
That is correct.
It's downtown development, correct?
Correct.
So, I know the downtown development has a list of all the merchants with phone numbers, and they have had the responsibility in the past of doing it. I know, I got a call one time in Raleigh, about, failure to notify them. So we want to make sure that with Lights Up, we're going to reschedule it now until the 28th, and we got the Christmas parade. Got to make sure that DG's downtown development notifies these merchants well in advance, so they don't catch them by surprise. Any other comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, thank you, Chief.
Good evening again. I have adoption of the supplement to the Code of Ordinances. This code is S-48. The supplement contains all ordinances of a general nature enacted since the S-47 Code of Ordinances dated October 17th, 2022. And by motion, I ask that y'all adopt the attached ordinance enacting and adopting the 2023 S-48 supplement to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Goldsboro. And this code update has already been posted online.
Okay. Questions? Okay.
Item J is department monthly reports. Questions for that?
Anyone have any questions of the reports?
Okay, then we'll go item K, Lights Up, street closure change. Chief West.
Good evening. Due to the likelihood of rain and the original date for the downtown Lights Up being the 21st, Downtown Development is requesting that Downtown Lights Up street closure get altered to reflect Tuesday, November 28th. In the unfortunate event of bad weather on the rain date, they are also requesting that Downtown Lights Up street closure be moved to Wednesday, November 29th. So it's requested upon receipt of this memo to the Downtown Development, request approval by the City Council for both of these rain dates. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of the consent agenda items. We do have some items to go into closed session for.
We have personnel and litigation, Mayor.
Okay, could we have a motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion, we move into closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Not, all approve, signify by raising your hand. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to closed session.
Wait, we gotta wait for. Gotta wait to get over.
Oh,
We're
excuse-
on, we're on now.
Now we're.
Okay. Motion to go back into this session.
No, you already done that. Now you just need to recess until.
Okay, then we'll recess till 7 o'clock
Okay. Thank you.
in the council chambers. November 2023. And let's see, yeah, there you are. Okay. How you doing, sir? This time I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask one of my favorite pastors in Goldsboro, Pastor Stanley Keller of the Friendship Baptist Church, to come forward and give us our prayer to start us off with, the invocation, and then we'll do the pledge of allegiance, sir. Come on up. You stand, please.
There's a lot of power there, ain't it? Yeah, how about that? Let's pray. Father, we love you and are just so thankful for your goodness in our life. And of course, this time of the year, we're always reminded to be more thankful than maybe typically we are. And thankfulness is the right attitude. God, we're thankful in recognition that every good and every perfect gift comes down from above, from the Father of lights, in whom there is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. God, you are so kind. You woke us up this morning, and we found that your mercies were new this morning, just as they were yesterday and just as they will be tomorrow. And so, God, thank you for that. And we want to pray for your blessings upon our country. God, we want to pray for your blessings upon our city, right here where we live at. God, we pray that you would give good wisdom and discernment to this board, to this council, as they make decisions that will move us forward into the future. God, would you give them good instruction? And we understand that there are many intentions in the heart of man, but God, you are the one who directs our paths. And so, God, superintend over every decision and have your perfect will to be done in our lives, in our city. And God, give us a good future for a place for our children to be raised and to be able to get along, and to really just a place where there's liberty to serve you. God, we love you, and we pray all these things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again, Pastor Kelly. Okay, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Mayor Hand.
Present.
President Matthews.
Present.
Councilwoman Jones.
Present.
Councilman Barway. Councilman Gaylor.
Present.
Councilman Bass.
Here.
Okay, we're all here. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the work session and the regular meeting of November 6th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes of November 6th, signify by raising your right hand. Okay, motion is approved. The minutes are passed. I don't see Ms. Smith here. Ma'am? Okay, she's not here, but I'm going to, Mr. Golden Smith served on the board of directors for the Goldsboro Housing Authority for 18 years and recently resigned. I had spoken with her. I hoped she would be here. I wanted to present her a certificate of appreciation. But she gave loyal and faithful service on the Housing Authority Board for those many years. And I commend her for that and certainly appreciate her for that service to our community. Housing Authority houses a good number of people in our community, and a strong board, of which she was one of those, is helpful to guide them in the conduct of their business. So, Ms. Smith, I hope you're watching, and I'm sorry you're not here. I know you told me you have adult children and they're spread out north and south of here. You're probably, if you're not home, you're probably with them. But I want to wish you the best of luck and health as you go through rest of your life, and hope you'll come back and visit us sometime. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. We have public hearing on Citizens Participation Plan Amendment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening, ma'am.
I have the public hearing for the city's Citizen Participation Plan Amendment. On August 8, 2022 through August 12, 2022, the city underwent a HUD monitoring of its FY19 and FY20 CDBG program. HUD conducted a review of the city's Citizen Participation Plan to determine the city's compliance with the requirements at 24 CFR Part 91, Subpart B, and determined that the city's Citizen Participation Plan substantially met the requirements of 24 CFR 91.105, with the exception that it did not include a definition of predominantly low and moderate income neighborhoods. As a result of the review, the city was issued a finding with an accompanying required corrective action. The amended Citizen Participation Plan was made available to the public on November 2nd, 2023. A required 30-day comment period was executed on November 2nd and runs through December 1st, 2023. A public hearing is scheduled before you tonight, November 20th. The public hearing and the availability of the amended plan for public review and comment were duly advertised in the Goldsboro News Argus, as well as on the city's website on November 2nd. Copies of the amended plan were also made available for public review and comment at the City Hall's reception desk, Mayor and City Manager's office, Community Relations and Development Department, Wayne County Public Library, and the Housing Authority of the City of Goldsboro on November 2nd, 2023. At the conclusion of the 30-day public review and comment period, Community Relations and Development will submit the amended plan to HUD, and there is no action needed of council at this time.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward, speak for or against the Citizens Participation Plan Amendment, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak? I see no one coming forward, so I'll close the public hearing. And as the department manager said, there's no action required on the part of the council.
I'd like to thank you for all the work you did on this.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Let me amplify what he just said too. We've said it several times, but we know what effort goes into this, and it's not something you can do in 2 or 3 hours. It's 2 or 3 months worth of work. So thank you so much for the time that you put forth in that. So I'll open it up now for public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak? Madam Clerk, do you have any names on the?
Just one. Phyllis Merritt James.
Hey, Ms. James, and soon to be Councilwoman James.
No, not yet. Not yet, unfortunately. Good evening.
But you will, you will.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and members. I'm just standing to talk about housing alternatives. I did attend the meeting on November 6th with the work session, and then I had a meeting after, so I couldn't speak then. But a presentation was made regarding a buyout alternative for people in the city that had not really taken advantage of like FEMA programs for housing that's in flood zone areas. And in turn, they, the recommendation that they be transferred in perpetuum to green spaces in perpetuity. And a lot of people may not understand that wonderful word. It means forever, forever. With those areas that are in more of the affected historic areas of Goldsboro, like the East End, I would like for us to look into places such as the New Hope Community Center and other people that like to see about translating some of those properties, whether or not it's the private citizens or whether or not it's houses that the city may have, instead of turning it over and then demolishing it, making it green space, elevate that property so that we can make those smaller houses like they did for the veterans. I was able to be a part of that inaugural area. So I know that a lot of places are not amenable, like for Habitat for Humanity, they need big tracts instead of small areas. But any other groups that have that capacity to put homes and let's elevate it. You know, got to think about it. When we built Cherry Hospital, that was swampland, and they elevated everything so that they could build a place for our mentally incapacitated people that are having hard times. So we have the ability to do the same and not end up gentrifying a lot of our areas here in Goldsboro. So I want us to think long and hard. Again, people see dollar signs and say, ooh, I'm gonna get $10,000 for selling this, let's do it. But then that area loses character forever, and the people have the ability to have, you know, housing and have grocery stores and other things that we can put in those spaces. So just think hard and make sure we have all alternatives that's available to elevate, keep parks, keep housings, and keep everything so that we're not gentrified and turned to areas I'm seeing around the state. Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
That's the only thing.
Okay, there's one else to speak. I'll close the public comment period, and we go to the consent agenda items.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda items D through K are presented for council approval.
Council, you heard the items presented before. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mayor Ham,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Matthews,
Yes.
Councilman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Broadway,
Yes.
Councilman Gaylor,
Yes.
Councilman Bass.
Yes.
Okay, the consent agenda items are approved. This time we'll go into items requiring individual action and city manager.
Yes, sir. So previous item K, now L. This is the 2023 North Carolina State Appropriations Act funding allocation. The act appropriated to the city of Goldsboro $5 million for water and wastewater infrastructure from the Clean Water and Drinking Water Reserve, $2 million for the Big Ditch restoration and stabilization from the State Emergency Response and Disaster Relief Fund, and $2 million for a directed grant from the Regional Economic Development Reserve. The North Carolina Department of Commerce awarded $22 million to the Wayne County Development Alliance for utility infrastructure that enabled Mount Olive Pickle Company to manufacture in the city of Goldsboro. The $5 million for water and wastewater infrastructure will complete the final phase of this project. All associated water and wastewater infrastructure will be accepted and owned by the city. The $2 million Big Ditch will pay for the city's 25% match of a $7.5 million project that was presented to council on November 6, 2023 by the North Carolina State University Coastal Dynamics Design Lab. Council decided on November 6, 2023 at that council meeting that $375,000 of the unspecified $2 million directed grant would be appropriated to stabilize Goldsboro Union Station if Wayne County made a similar commitment and a local nonprofit organization matched the city and county commitment. It is requested the council allocate the remaining $1.625 million for a portion of the public safety complex repairs estimated to be between $2 to $3 million. We will have that presentation at hopefully at the next council meeting. It is recommended that council adopt the attached resolution in support of allocating North Carolina State Appropriations Act of 2023 funds to the city of Goldsboro.
So that's the recommendation. You have a copy of the resolution for discussion. Anyone want to, if there's any discussion on this? Sir.
I'm going to speak in favor of this, but I just have a quick question. What's going on with the bunk room over at Station 1? Are folks able to use the bunk room right now at Station 1?
No, there is a mold issue over there. Now, it's different than we had at the police department, where that was more of a toxic mold that we acted on right away. This is more of an allergic mold, my understanding, and we are working on getting a contractor. My understanding of the latest is we have a contractor in place. We're just determining a date that he's available to do the work.
Okay.
So until that work's done, out of abundance of caution, we are asking directing the fire department firefighters to be in what was normally a training room, that they don't have to potentially put up with those conditions.
That makes my mind. Thank you.
I don't know, the chief of fire departments here, you might be able to answer any more
I don't have
questions
any
if you'd
further
like.
question. I've been in that building, I've toured that building a number of times, and to ride by, it doesn't seem like there's, too much to an issue. And then you realize that you've got folks that can't even use the bunkhouse, and these are the folks that you're expected to show up when you call 911. And so, again, there's no reason to make this take any longer. I'm in support
And speaking with the chief, I understand that it is a temporary issue of them, and they are sleeping on mattresses. Could you just come up and just
Mayor, Council. Yeah, this has been problematic. We had the air sampled at the fire station. Took some time to finally get some with mold being at the police department. I felt like it was important to have it tested. Went through a timeline, finally got industrial hygienists. They tested the air. When we found it, after conversations with the industrial hygienist, it was decided that we would move them out of there in an abundance of caution. And so we've gone through the process. It is temporary. They are on mattresses and box springs. They had the opportunity to move bed frames in there if they chose to. Because we're trying to push this so quickly, they didn't feel like it was necessary. They put it there. Obviously, the length of time is due to the processes that are in place for government. And then you're at the mercy of vendors as well as their time frame and trying to get them in. So that's kind of where we are. It is temporary. We're hoping that this will move quicker. Some unfortunate circumstances with our first vendor. They had to back out of the process. So we had to back up and go with another one. So that's where we're at now. Any other questions for me?
I got a question on Tower 1. What's broken?
So it is not the axle is what we call it. There's a brace for the airbags that are on the back of it to hold the weight. They're not sure why it happened. No one has ever seen it before, but the brace actually sheared off of its bracket. So it had to be towed to, had to be towed to Fayetteville. So we're just waiting on parts right now. Once parts get in, hopefully it'll be a quick turnaround to get us back running.
Good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the motion, the resolution, before you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Motion's passed. This time we'll go to the city manager's report.
All right. A lot of stuff going on this time of year, as everyone's aware. The downtown new parking limits are expected to be in place in mid-December. We're working through that. There's a voluntary water restriction out there because of the low level of the Neuse River. The social distance is expected to be implemented in early December. We've got Jingle in the Park, December 1st through the 2nd at Herman Park. We've got Lights Up has recently been changed, delayed a week from the 21st to the 28th. Thanksgiving, city offices will be closed from the 23rd to the 24th, and the Christmas parade on the 2nd. So hope to see everybody at these events. They're a lot of fun, and appreciate the staff that make it happen. That's all I have, sir.
Mr. Simon, the parking policy rollout in December, I know it's later than we had planned, at least is my understanding. And are they still planning to roll it out with obviously a lot of publicity, but also as a given warning tickets or?
That's my understanding. I can't give you the, Matt, do you have an exact time frame where they were talking about warning tickets?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Our plan is that we're getting the software put together right now, all the handheld information into the database, and so we have the software in place. We've got the staff now in place to do the enforcement through the police department. The backup will be code enforcement, but our plan is to go 30 days with the warning tickets, and talking with LaToya about getting some some articles or some publication out there, letting people know we're going to be starting it. But we've kind of gone about this very, very deliberately, kind of slowly, making sure we got the signs that are being manufactured now, so we'll be putting those signs up in advance of us doing any enforcement. And so that's pretty much just an estimate right now. Mid-December, we'll have this, certainly hope we'll have the signs up and the staff's in place, and it's getting closer every day.
So the first 30 days will be warning tickets, is that correct?
Yes.
So you really implement it for execution, so to speak, in January sometime?
Yeah, the idea is to soft roll out so that people will understand, you know, okay, we've got it in place, they'll know, you know, and so give people a grace period of understanding that, you know, this 2-hour limitation in certain areas in the downtown will be enforced.
Did I understand you to say the signs are being on the 11th?
The signs were being manufactured now, so we've got to get them, there's, I think like 50 or more of them that we're putting out, the no parking signs, and then we'll have to erect them out in various areas to make sure everybody's aware of, you know, the areas that are no parking, the 2-hour parking limitation.
So they will not be up at, on the second when the parade is scheduled?
No, sir, they won't be up then.
Okay.
No.
Any other questions anyone has?
Thank you, Matt.
Parking management, looking like gonna be fun.
Yep. That's all you had,
Yes,
Mr. Simon? Okay, good. We have no ceremonial documents. The mayor and city council comments, I'm going to start with Councilwoman Jones.
Okay, I had an opportunity to celebrate the National Apprenticeship Program, which was launched by what we call SEED, Southeastern Education and Economic Development, on Thursday, which partnered with the North Carolina Business Community and Wayne Community College. It was a very nice event, and I hope that our adults and students will use that opportunity to grow educationally. And last, I would like to say, have a blessed Thanksgiving, and let us come before his presence with thanksgiving. Also, let us remember those that are less fortunate than us and act accordingly. Also remember our elderly, and especially those that will be the first time without someone that they love during the holidays. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Brookley.
No comments.
Madam Pro Tem.
No comment.
Mr. Gaylor.
No comment.
Mr. Bass.
No comment.
We are shooting for a quick meeting tonight. I just want to say that we do have a Christmas parade coming up. We were scheduled tomorrow night to have lights up activity. That's been rescheduled, and I encourage all of our citizens to be aware that it has been canceled for tomorrow night, and come back next week on its scheduled date. Also, come down on the 2nd of December for the Christmas parade, and that's the end of my comments, and I'm going to, unless there's further discussion, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.